In this section, we will look shortly on the protocol data unit and its naming conventions. Once the signals comes out of the RTE layer, we call it as system signals. Once the system signals are sometime grouped into some groups to send the signal in single shot. So in COM modules, we have a shadow buffer or shadow modules to group these signals. These, sig these signals are grouped and it's called as signal grouping. There are two types of signals coming out. So one is the signal and another one is the signal group. In signal group, many signals are combined in one group so it can be sent out easily. So next is the service data unit. When the signal comes out of a RTE to the COM layer, here the signals are STU for the COM module and this COM module add one header. So the header is called as PCI, so the protocol control information. Along with the STU plus PCI, we call it as PDUs. Once the combined STU and the PCI comes out of the COM module is called as the I-PDU, or it is called as I-PDU. Once the signal comes inside the COM module, it is called as STU and the header is added in PCI. So with the STU, so and together we called it as PDU. So for illustration, yes, PDU comes from the upper module to the lower module as a serviceable data unit and a header is added. So it becomes the PDU. So like when it comes from the top layer to the below layer, the header is being added and once goes back or goes from the lower layer to the upper layer, the header is removed. This is the same way as the Internet Protocol works, such as each layer adds a header in every layer. In similar manner, signal is added with each layer header and sends out to the next layer. All the PDU in service layer is called as I-PDU, and once the protocol data unit moves from the service layer to the ECU abstraction layer, these signals are called as NPDUs, that means the network PDUs. Once this network PDU reaches the MCU or the hardware abstraction layer, we call it as LPDU, low level PDUs. So the signals are converted into PDU in service layer. Next is the NPDU in ECU abstraction layer and LPDU when it reaches the hardware abstraction layer or the MCU layer. These are the three types of protocol data unit available in AUTOSAR methodology. As the signals comes out of the RTE is more of messages and first step is to convert these signals into the PDU. The signals comes out of the RTE. The first module it encounters is the COM module, only about communication stack flow alone. So the data or the messages transmitted out of the RTE and the first layer encounters is again the COM module. The first step of the COM module is take the signals and packs it as I-PDU. It means adds the header and converts as I-PDU and sent out to the lower layer is PDU router. Similarly, when data is sent out from the PDU router, it will look for destination address and it will route to the particular RTE component and it removes the header. This is the first step of the communication, the COM module. The whole idea is to pack and unpack the signals or I-PDUs. It packs the signals to I-PDU and it unpacks the I-PDU into the signals. This is the main functionality of the COM module. Then the second step is when to start and stop the I-PDUs, and it will control the whole transmission and retransmission of the I-PDU and I-PDU groups and the signals. This is also managed by the COM module. This will take care of filtering of the signals. So what means the filtering? So the gateway functionality also we will look at and we'll come back. The gateway functionality means the few signals only transmitted to the I-PDU and few signals will not be transmitted and taken care by the gateway functionality and the transmission mode and the mode selection. The first step is signal needs to be converted into I-PDU and the I-PDU in turn converted into signals. The second is filtering of the signal. For example, there is a lot of messages have to be transmitted from the RTE layer. There are few messages need to be transmitted always. Then we have filtering methods. Once we configure always or never, like 7 filters are available. Here we can select which is required based on our requirement. There may be use cases some signals need not to be transmitted. For those signals, we can set the filter option as never. So this filtering message will not be transmitted. It will be filtered in the COM module itself. The COM module actually decided whether to transmit or not to transmit. There are 7 to 8 filters available to configure in the AUTOSAR COM module. Based upon how you want to transmit the signals, the next important thing is a gateway functionality. The use case like let us assume this particular ECU actually is in one cluster and protocol conversion to be done. So this COM module is responsible for conversion of the data which enters the COM. When the signal enters the COM module as the CAN signal and there is a chance it may be transmitted to other protocol. This is just like mapping of signal to the other protocol. Another example is COM module act as an interrupt processor. For example, and display unit is available next to the ECU. It will pick the data from the CAN bus and it will show the like for example we'll take an example of engine speed, so that need to be displayed in the display. So yeah, the COM module take the data from the CAN bus and it will display it in the display with help of the SPI interface. So this kind of conversion can be done in the COM module. Transmission mode and the transmission selection, the main importance of the COM module. The configuration of the COM module is most important use case. Let us have a use case. You want to transmit one message for every 1 millisecond, and on the reception of the particular event this message have to be transmitted to every 20 milliseconds. This kind of mode selection is possible in COM module. When condition is true, the signals can be transmitted every 1 millisecond. When the condition is false, the CAN signals can be transmitted every 100 milliseconds. This is transmission mode and the transmission mode selection. This is the most important functionality and the aspect of the COM module. To summarize, the COM module converts the signals into PDU and it controls the start and stop, and it also can do the filtering when to transmit and when not to transmit, and the conversion of the one protocol to another, and the messages from one cluster can be transmitted to the another cluster. So lot of this are like functionality of COM module. So there is most of the time spent in AUTOSAR configuration for the COM module. This really required for the effective communication to happen.